Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. I don't even know what scene to tackle first. Screw it, I do. Allie and Chanel. I feel like at this point I'm starting to run out of insults with Allie. I really am. Because the first thing that wound up happening was Chanel kissed Allie. And Allie backed off and I was like, yo, I'm not doing this. I'm faithful to Trip. Remember, Remember that she said that. She said, I'm faithful to Trip. So Chanel's all like, well, I don't want to be alone. If you stay with me, then, I won't do that again. And I'm sorry for doing that. And I'm sorry for comparing you to your brother and blah, 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 blah. So I'm sitting there thinking, Allie, you had the chance to do something right. You could have just been like, you know what, listen, we ain't doing this, whatever. But you stayed. Okay, you stayed. Um, I think it would have been kind of a mistake, but okay, whatever. So you stayed, and then she's like, just I don't even know how to describe this scene. This scene, I just like this scene. Wow. So she gets undressed, and Allie's like, all right, listen, I'm going on the couch or whatever. And Chanel's like, well, listen, the bed is big enough for both of us. I'll stay on my side, you stay on yours. I was like, Allie, this girl just tried to kiss you because reasons. And for the life of me, you decide to stay. Okay, fine. You want to be a good, supportive friend. Okay, fine. She's telling you to get into bed with her. This is the part where you say no. What does Allie do? Allie's like, oh, okay. So she starts to get into bed, and Chanel's like, "Oh well, you don't want to sit there and sleep with all those clothes on or something like that." Well, as I'm watching this, as I'm watching this, she starts to take off her clothes. She starts to take off Allie's clothes, and I'm like, Allie, what are you doing? And then I'm like, wait, the hell is wrong with me? Why am I questioning for her? Like, part of me, I mean, I don't want to sit there and put gender stereotypes or whatever, but as I'm watching this, I'm like, the hell is wrong with me? Because I'm looking at this whole scene, and I'm like, well, this kind of seems like a like a movie I was watching last night. Very adult movie I was watching last night. This it seems all kind of similar. I'm partly just like, maybe I just kind of just shut up and just let this play out. And she untakes her, she takes off her clothes, and at this point, Allie is practically just in her bra and panties, and she's in a little nightgown or whatever. So they're laying down, and I guess they're like faced away from each other. Okay, fine. This is it's just I don't know how you're gonna explain this to Trip, but okay, fine. So laying down, and Chanel's all like, "Allie, are you awake?" Well, if she wasn't awake before, she's gonna be awake now. So she's like, "Yeah, I'm awake," or whatever. And you start talking a little bit, and this scene just goes from bad to worse. Goes from bad to worse. And Allie's all like, "Well, you're a great person." She starts giving her encouragements to kind of make her feel better, and being like, anyone be lucky enough to be with you, whatever that person's gonna be like, and yada yada yada. And I'm just sitting there like, Allie, you're facing her. You're saying all this nice, sweet stuff, and she's kind of at an emotional low. Not that she really needs a reason to make out with you because she's done it multiple times before. But she's like she says all these words, and Chanel's like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, you're gonna turn back around, and you're gonna lay back down, and you're gonna try to come up with a good excuse of why you're in the bed with Chanel after Trip was already having doubts with you." No, that's not what she does. That's not what she does at all. She decides to lean forward and kiss her, and I'm just like, let me guess, she was confused too, right? A lot of confusion going on here. I mean, first you got Chanel that's confused, you got Paris that's confused on B&B, and now we're all just confused. Whenever I get confused, I'm pretty sure I don't just kiss the first person that's right next to me, but apparently Allie's confused. So yeah, she's kissing her, making out, and they're, adult scene. Okay, that's what comes to mind. Now, I was about to sit there and say Jackie or Harris. Paulina comes to check on Chanel, sees them, sees them, um, engaged, and she closes the door, and she's just like, she just had that look like, oh man. I mean, she just finished talking to Trip and talking about how much of a good person he was and helping her out, and Ali is a good friend, and really treating her, and then have a good bedside manner, and all of that just going right out the window because she sees her daughter and Ali going at it. I don't even know what left I can sit. I don't even know what I can sit there and say at this point for Ali. I mean, I said it yesterday that she is literally blowing it with an amazing guy. Um, and multiple times behind his back, just doing whatever with Chanel. And it wasn't like she was drunk or anything like that. She just chose to do it. You put this man through hell when you first met him. He's been nothing but kind to you. And this is pretty much how you repay him. Wow. I feel like I'm watching an episode of Jerry Springer at this point. Now, while Paulina's getting checked out by Trip, Lonnie decides to actually act like a nice, decent human being, and they have some good moments together. So that's cool. Um, I don't. The devil decides, because at this point, Susan's all like, "Oh, you're not going to sit there and do this," because the devil's like, "Listen, if you tell anyone, I'm going to kill EJ," and Susan's like, "You're not going to do that because if you do that, you know, you operate best on the DL, okay? So going out and doing what you're doing, like trying to kill him, is not going to work, and people are going to sit there and believe you. They're not going to believe that Johnny just snapped. They're going to believe that you're back." Now the devil kind of toys around like, "Hey, I can kill you. I can turn you into a cat." Says a couple of insults, but also gives her a compliment because she figured it out again. Susan probably has to be like the worst hostage. Like, you know, Susan be like, "Oh yeah, I'm sort of blindfolded, but I can see your face, and you have a mustache, and I can see your credit card and your ID and where you live at." I mean, she's just the worst type of hostage to have. Well, no, she's the worst type. She's just the worst type of hostage. But anyway, long story short, the devil does some sort of mind compulsion because he can pretty much do damn near anything at this point, and pretty much mind controls her to tell EJ that she's leaving and going back to Memphis to be her Roger. And yeah. And meanwhile, EJ's down there with Bella trying to convince her to represent him because he's like, I'm going to represent myself. And Bella's like, well, that's a bad idea. Bella can't do it for a couple of reasons. One, the company, um, conflict of interest. Two, her sister. Um, even if, even with that being said, I feel like she still sort of believes that he didn't do it. But it's just between her sister, maybe, and the company, she's just like, I don't know if it's a good idea, so she decides to leave. Now, I saw the previews, and for reasons, she decides to, represent him. I mean, how EJ was like, oh, well, what about the kids? Sydney is an actual real character. I know she was a character in that terrible, awful movie. Um, yeah, he was like, oh well, Johnny and Sydney don't deserve this or whatever. You got to think about the kids, think about the children. Like EJ, at this point, you really even Bella's like, oh really, we're gonna use the kids now. But she leaves, which is like, it kind of sucks, but she's gonna come back and represent them. Um, Now, when Susan leaves, there's one point. At first, they make it seem like Susan's like, all right, I'm going to sit there and tell him everything. And Deborah's like, all right, fine. Go right ahead. We'll see how that works out. And when Susan's like, oh, I'm going to leave from Memphis and I'm going to be with Roger, I was like, I guess she decided not to do it because she figured that the devil was going to, keep his word and kill EJ. But it turned out that, it was he mind controlled her to say those things. Now, I don't understand why they actually had to sit there and do it that way. I felt like it was all kind of confusing, and it was like, what's the point of that? Like, it didn't really seem like it added up. I'm like, whatever. Anyway, Johnny comes downstairs, and Johnny's like, yeah, I'm the one that convinced her. She seemed like she was lonely, and she seemed like she missed him, so I convinced her to do it. And when she leaves, because EJ's like, whoa, what are you doing? I just like you don't have to leave like right now. I think one more day will be fine. But Susan leaves, and EJ turns around and looks at his son like, "The hell are you doing? What is going on here?" Um, there was a part of him that seemed like he was a little bit kind of proud of, Johnny for not so much as in the over the top dickish way of how he handled Chanel, but being his own man and listening to EJ's advice and maybe even taking up being at the company. So even like he was kind of happy about that. Which I kind of knew. I kind of knew he seemed like he was kind of proud of him. During that whole like I don't want to sit there and say debacle, but during that whole making Chanel feel like crap, which in reality, he really shouldn't be proud of that. But for some odd reason, he was because I don't know. I guess in some sort of ways, it kind of reminded him of himself, just the boldness in him, in Johnny and the way he was acting. Now Chanel, now Sierra and Ben, I set them last because to be honest, they didn't really do a damn thing. I don't really understand what people see in those characters. I wish I knew. All they did was they sat there and they looked at an envelope. The envelope contained the sex of the baby. And they wanted to know, but they didn't want to know, and they was afraid. And they got Sean. And then, it was like, Sean, are you going to sit there and look and whatever? And they did this whole debate thing. And honestly, to tell you the truth, at the end of the episode, Sean took the envelope, and Ciara and Ben, um, well, they didn't really do anything. Um, Because, Sean was like, listen, you need to sit there and find out the sex list where you can find out, how to decorate the nursery or whatever. And, Sierra was like, oh, well, we're not going to sit there and assign colors to genders and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, sure. I guess we're doing this. Listen, to some extent, I get where Sierra's coming from, and I get the idea of forward thinking, not assigning, oh, well, pink with girl and blue with boys. Like, right, well, if you're a boy, you can like pink, and if you're a girl, you can like blues. It's not a big deal, and I do agree with that. And you talked about pronouns and stuff like that. I mean, pretty much what they really was coming out and saying was that um, they were pretty much being as forward thinking as possible, which is all good and great. Okay, I'm all for it. But you literally sat there and did nothing and accomplished nothing in this episode. You didn't find out the name of the. You didn't find out the birth of the sex, and you had Sean come in there to try, I guess, to be a tiebreaker. And you said you didn't really matter. It didn't really matter if it was a boy or girl. So in the end, no one knew if it was a boy or girl. Oh, and the devil still after Sierra and Ben's child because reasons. Yeah, honestly, to tell you the truth, I'm not gonna lie. The minute that I saw those two, I was like, ugh, I can't with them. And the problem with those two characters is that this seems like it's been their speed for quite a while. The only time I felt like they were interesting was when Sierra didn't have a memory, and when she was there trying to get away from Rose, and when she was captured. That's the only time that those two was interesting. They were interesting. I was angry at Sierra for the way she was there treating Ben, but you know what? She was interesting. And now you have those two back. It's like, my goodness. I honestly tell you the truth, I almost felt like, if I forgot those two and I just did the review, I was just not going to do it again because they just, for me, well, obviously they didn't really get on my radar. Um, but I try to sit there and make sure I do a full and accurate review and review everyone and talk about everyone, even the people that I'm just like, wow, you literally just wasted 5 to 7, maybe 12 minutes of everyone's time because you didn't even accomplish anything. And that's the sad part. Even though I don't like those two characters, if we would have found out the sex of the child, it would have been like, wow, at least you did something. But no, you couldn't even be. I'm done. I'm done. I'm just. Nope. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank everyone for watching. Be safe, and I will see you in the next video.